Let's turn our attention to also on the front page of the Standard newspaper. And Council Harvey, coming to you. Ruto and Uhuru talks have jolted politics, says the paper. A surprise meeting between President William Ruto and his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta, two bigwigs, according to the paper, with a long history of togetherness, sends the politics into a spin and raises questions on the shape of the broad-based government, the political fate of Mount Kenya, and Azimio's future. Coming to you, Council Harvey, when you look at the body language of Uhuru Kenyatta and President William Ruto in Ichaweri, certainly the Kenyan political class is not known for compromise. And what does this then portend for our constitutionalism and the culture that is needed? I mean, talks of the return to BBI version 2.0.
Let me quote what my good friend and boss, Edward Mureu Kamau Wakile, the MP for Katanga, said. He said, President Uhuru Kenyatta let down the Mlima in 2022. President William Samoei Ruto has let down Mlima in 2024. There is nothing the two of them, William Samoei Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, can do to recover Mlima. I think it is simplistic as that. The Mlima has moved. Secondly, I could be wrong, but Uhuru Kenyatta only has one vote. He's not, and he's no longer representative of the Mount Kenya vote. There is talk of a further coalition government over and above the coalition between President William Samoei Ruto and Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. To what end? You see, I mounted those SUV rooftops and was privy to the dissemination of knowledge and information to the people that we are forming a government to help those who are at the bottom of the social strata attain sustainable measure of development. And it was emphatic in our call that we're not here to locate and distribute offices of state. So we've gone back. We're driving in reverse. We're walking backwards. So that whoever conceives of a rebirth of the BBI enterprise should be perceived from that prison, no longer interested in what is key to the people of Kenya. So I do not see any reason as to why individuals should be jolted. These three people have tried this thing before. I think it is imperative that Kenyans be informed of nefarious scheme underlying their reorganization. It's as simple as that. Okay. And see, when I spoke here last on a Monday, I said there is need for there to be an alternative to the individuals who have punctuated the ballot boxes, the ballot papers every time we go for the presidential election. There is need for new people. I've made this clarion call to CJ David Kenani Maraga to see to the propriety of running as president. Okay. And I've also indicated that in the unlikely event that he doesn't want to accept this call, I will run for the president of the Republic of Kenya so that we put to an end these shenanigans that have prevailed longer than necessary.
Yeah. Demas, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you on the broadcast. Yeah. Councillor Okach.
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta, a Kanu and Moi protege, and when the desertion happened, it's William Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi who had remained by him when he was defeated in 2002. Certainly this is a production of Kanu, somewhat still present within the political system. What do you think they portend for a Kenya in the midst and a contemporary Kenya that is today governed by a constitution which has driven this country from the dark past? And do you think they're coming together will again be the same scenario as we had witnessed with Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, who had driven us the BBI path, which the court said was not only unconstitutional, but it was an attempt to dismember our constitution?
Ayub, I think history is replete and with the lessons that we can look at, and we'll always know, and we can maybe with a certain measure of accuracy predict the future. Raila Odinga, when he opposed Uhuru Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta joined up with William Ruto and they won. The moment there was a handshake between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, and they actually tried to have Raila Odinga become the president, Ruto was out there and he actually won. Today we are seeing a triumvirate whereby now we actually saw Raila Odinga joining up with William Ruto. And of course, there was a loss. And like Nelson Harvey says, there was a shift in the mountain. That's the reality. Anyone who is actually sincere will actually say. So the extension of this handshake to Uhuru Kenyatta is a clever way of trying to mend that rift so that the mountain can fall back. In my view, my personal view, I think the biggest loser of this thing, first of all, is William Ruto, and second is Uhuru Kenyatta. First, William Ruto lost a rich, a vote-rich area just like that. And you look at the percentage that this mountain comes from, and it goes without saying that without that support, William Ruto will not have been president. And remember, they supported William Ruto as against their own son, Uhuru Kenyatta, who they then perceived as, those evil spirits that we are being told of may have captured him at that point. And just because there was dalliance between him and Raila Odinga. Now, Raila Odinga came in, and because of that dalliance, Ruto seems to have lost the mountain. By bringing, and you saw what happened in Embu. For some reason, now Uhuru Kenyatta was actually cheered and loved by the mountain. I think that is what may have endeared William Ruto to move and try to have this particular relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta.
What does that say about the gullibility of the Kenyan public, and by extension the people you have mentioned? Because if they decried him of not only bringing them Raila Odinga, and which they declined, but also President Kenyatta presided over a period where there was gross violation of the Constitution, human rights violations that happened, Kenyans who were extrajudicially killed, some still unknown, others who were abducted, including foreigners from this country in 2021 when an Ethiopian, Tekla Michael, was taken from Nairobi. What then does that say when they cheer him up at the expense of now loathing William Ruto, who they then loved? What does that say about the material thinking of the Kenyan voter, including those in central Kenya, about getting the good governance system that's required to run this country efficiently?
You see, it tells you a lot about Kenyans. Kenyans are resilient, Kenyans are forgiving, and they look ahead. However, you look at it, you may have gotten an injection last week, and you are to get an injection today. This injection today will actually pain you more than the one that pained you last week. So it is what is happening currently that Kenyans are focused on, because what has happened has happened. That is what under the bridge. The person who has the mandate today is who? Is William Samoei Ruto from Kenyans. And that is where the expectations are. And they know that Uhuru Kenyatta can do very little about his past. That happened, and it is already documented. Okay. But for change, it is you who is occupying that seat today, who can actually and who has the mandate to bring change. And that's why they will always, and that's why I'm saying they will not fault especially Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta, but William Ruto. But now that if indeed it happens that Uhuru Kenyatta links up with William Ruto, automatically Uhuru Kenyatta is going to lose that goodwill that he had again regained very shortly, and you'll see him being booed. He'll actually go back to where he was before 2022.
Which is a failure of reading the public mood. Demas, good morning. What do you make of all this sudden regrouping? Does it point to what Moses Kuria said is now looking into a fashioned, further broad-based coalition that will involve Kenyatta, William Ruto, and Raila Odinga, or does it point to the direction of a coalition of chaos?
Thank you for having me. I think what is happening is that the political class has read the room and realized that things are not good. And the situation that Kenya finds herself in is a direct threat to their relevance and survival. Historically, the political class has come together whenever they sense that there's something wrong in the country, and they've been able to bury the hatchet and come together. This time, Kenya finds herself in a situation where, over the years, we have been borrowing irresponsibly, which has translated into a nation where we are not able to invest in our development. Instead, we are borrowing even further, so we are also sort of getting into a debt trap where we are borrowing even further to pay salaries, and this is not helped by the situation in terms of corruption. And so there's very little money left for socio-economic growth. And you find that the sectors that Kenyans could rely on before, such as university funding, such as healthcare, are now the ones suffering. And Kenyans have come to realize that. And if you look at the corruption that is going on at the county level and at the national level, just going by the reports from government bodies, like the Auditor General, the control of budget, indicating that some counties are operating over 300 accounts. What for? It looks like these are all for embezzlement. And so the political class will always be the political class. They have always come together when they need to, and I see this is what is happening.
So it's a marriage of convenience.
Yes.
Where does this fall then, Council Harvey? Education, healthcare, infrastructure. Who attends to this? Given that if with the degree of the broad-based government, Parliament is unable to attend to pressing issues that are of concern to the Kenyan public. For example, the failure to even get a quorum just the day after impeaching Rigathi Gachagua, and now Uhuru in the mix. How does this then help our institutions? How does it address the other issues, education, healthcare, and infrastructure which is needed?
Well, first and foremost, let me address the primordial question you posed. To what end is this coalition of William Samoei Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Raila Amolo Odinga? Look, they are coalescing for what purpose? They're coming together against the people of Kenya, obviously. Because in the last few months, the people of Kenya have been enlightened, and you've seen the agitation that has informed their reaction to the failures of good governance in the last few months. And it is indicative of a systemic failure of all three arms of government. And now, we are sorry, we have to open fire. The executive has failed, okay. The judiciary has failed, Parliament has failed. Kenyans are on their own. There is need to reboot. Because if we can't feed the people of Kenya, we can't treat them, we can't employ them, we can't give them a befitting retirement, then the government as known has collapsed. What then is the way forward? You see, when the Gen Z came out and forced President William Samoei Ruto to reject the Finance Bill 2024, when they came out and stormed Parliament, it was an indicator there is need for change. And change cannot be effected by recycling old individuals. Change now resides in the hands of these youthful Kenyans. And I've done my mathematics. Kenyans between the age of 18 to 30 number over 10 million. They are sufficient of their own to designate somebody to be President of the Republic of Kenya.
That's as per the 2019 Housing and Population Census?
Yes. Okay. They are sufficient on their own to vote in a president. They are sufficient on their own to constitute parliament. They may designate individuals to run.
Okay.
They may pick amongst themselves. And it's not new. In the House of Commons, we have children between the age of 18 and 32. And I use the word children figuratively, because we're always told you're the leaders of tomorrow. When will tomorrow come if individuals in their 80s are still angling to lead this country. What vision can they have? Okay. Look, in all fairness, they only have about 15 or less years to live. How can they plan for individuals within the age bracket of 18 to 30? They must give way. They have to leave.
And who are the majority in that regard? When we get back from the break, gentlemen, we'll be focusing on what has happened in the last 3 days for the judiciary and the statements that were made by the Chief Justice Martha Koome, and in relation to what she termed yesterday as tech-facilitated gender-based violence, and that she will in no time be hounded out of office when she spoke yesterday, and also presided over the official opening of the inaugural High Court Human Rights Summit, which she said will help in the entrenchment of human rights here in the country, which came yesterday also so timely with the breaking up of the protests by the police who have taken to the central business district here in Nairobi County. It's also a statement she shared with agencies including the Inspector General of Police, the DCI, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the National Intelligence Service. We'll be talking about that here after the break. Stay tuned.